What's up, Internet, and welcome to part 5 of my Niagara Program tutorial series. In this lesson, I'm going to be going over the job service and custom jobs in Niagara and demonstrate how to set them up and how to utilize them in a program. So here we go. Alright, so far, all the programs I've created in the series have pretty much just went out, performed a task, and there's really no error checking, so if any portion of it would have resulted in an error, the whole program would have just crashed and printed out a stack trace in the console. But if you have a pretty complex program that has multiple steps where it goes out and does a bunch of different things, it'd be nice to be able to track what was going on during the execution. But you can do that with a custom job in the job service. So the initiative here is not necessarily to teach you Java, as in this program object I'm going to be working on has a lot of content in it that's just strictly pure Java, and as I say before, I highly recommend taking a Java class or watching some tutorials on some of the core concepts of Java. So if something doesn't make any sense, like I said, I would note it and then go find some content on that specific thing. All right, so I'm going to demonstrate how to set up and implement a custom job that we're going to be using in this program object. So I'm going to create a program that will go out and ping devices that I specify. So I run into this a lot with SSL errors and SSL certificates. So let's say if I bring in a new device or 100 new devices into a web supervisor and they'll have self-signed certificates or something. So you know that if you ping them, it'll come back with a TLS error, and you have to go into the certificate manager, go to allowed host, and accept the connection. Then you got to go back and ping the device. So I'm going to create an object that'll ping whichever devices I tell it to. So I can define the scope of what I want to ping with BQL. So I went ahead and created a station query, just as I've used in some of the previous lessons. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a custom task and submit it. And then I'll jump down and define that class. So I'm going to go custom task. I'm going to just call it task. New custom task. And down here, I'm going to go task.submit. So when I call execute, this is the only thing that's going to happen. But all the code is going to rely or reside down in my custom task class. So I'm going to go ahead and define that. Public class, custom task. And it's going to implement the runnable class. So the runnable class is an interface. If you don't know what an interface is, you can go get some information on that. Okay, so I'm going to create a private field here. It's going to be B runnable job, and I'm just going to call it job. All right, so now I'm going to create the method for my custom task. So when I call my custom task, I'm going to create a new instance of a B runnable job. All right, now I need to define my submit, a public void submit. So we'll just call job.submit. Okay, so now I'm going to define a run method. So my run method is going to be where all the action happens. All right, so the first thing I want to do is I'm going to log a message saying that, hey, the task is started. So the way we do that is we call it job.log, and we send it a message. And the message is of a string type. So I'm going to say started task. Then I'll do something like a bracket here. I'll do some concatenation. So I'm gonna call thread current thread dot get name plus another bracket. All right, so basically what's happening is when I call this run method run, we're going to log a message that says that the task is started, and we're going to specify which thread that it's using. So when you do a job, it runs it on a separate thread. So for instance, when the previous programs I've created, they ran on the system thread. So if it was a huge program that just did tons of stuff, it's running on the system thread, which is going to impact your performance of some of the other tasks you're doing or some of the other processes that are happening outside of this program. So that's why you typically want to do your bigger stuff on a separate thread. All right, so the next thing I want to do is I want to pull in my station query where I'm selecting what I'm going to go out and ping. So just like in the previous videos, we're going to do our query, have the results come back in a BI table, and then we're going to take the table cursor and use that in conjunction with the while loop. So we'll do B Niagara Station. So I'm doing the scope is going to be on Niagara Station objects. Let's call it station. And we're just going to initialize it with a null right now. So BI table result is going to be equal to, we're going to call our get station query resolve.get, just as we did before. Then our table cursor, pass it what object type we're going after. All right. And before we get too far ahead, I'll go ahead and do my imports here. So we're going to compile this. It's going to fail because there's a lot of types in here. It doesn't know what they are. All right, so be runnable job. So I'll demonstrate how I always do with going in here and finding. All right, so we got a be runnable job here, and it's from the Baja job package, so the JavaX Baja job. And I'll just grab this here. My import package, the Baja. All right, so there's one, so that should clear that one up. Go to the next one, be Niagara Station. So once again, com.tritium.nd. So that's the Niagara driver package. All right, that clears that one up. BI table. Here. JavaX Baja collection. All right, so we're good there with all of our imports. All right, so next we'll work on our while loop. So we'll do while. So while cursor.next. So once again, as I stated in the previous video, cursor.next returns a true or false. So while this is returning true, we're going to do a try. All right, so what a try catch block is you try a piece of code. If it fails, you throw an exception. And if it succeeds, you just move on with your code. So this is how you get around the issue with some of the previous programs I've got, whereas if just one simple error on something came back, it would kill the whole program. So when you do a try catch, that means that okay, with one specific thing failed, we're not just going to crash the whole program. So we'll just skip it. We'll throw an exception, and you can log that however you want to. Typically, you just print it out to the console. All right, so in here, in my try block, we're going to do, we'll say station equals cursor.get. So that means the cursor is on a specific item in our table. It's going to represent for that object. So station is going to be equal to our current cursor. All right, so we're going to call station.ping. And if we go to our B Niagara station, all right, so see there's no ping here. There's no method for a ping. Actually, this is more just properties and an action. So if we go up, we see it extends B device. So we got a B device. All right, so now we've got some methods here we can use. And you see we've got one here called ping. So it's a void, so that means that it doesn't return anything. It does its thing, and that's it. So that's where we get our ping from. All right. So in this case, I want to have a little pause in between each ping. So let's say it pings one station. I want it to wait a given amount of time before it moves on to the next one, because if it just pings it, latency of the network or just the device responding, some of them may take longer than others. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do time unit dot seconds dot sleep, and this is where I'll pass in the amount of time I want to pause. So here we got a sleep method for it. So this causes the thread to sleep. So the current thread that I'm going to be running, I'm calling it to sleep. So in this instance, we're going to ping a device, wait 10 seconds, and then we'll say, what are you doing? An if statement. So if if not, station dot get health dot get down. So what I'm saying is, if the station is down, or if the station is not down, I'm sorry. So if the station is not down, I'm going to come here. I'm going to log. I'm going to do job.log a message. And I'm going to say station.getName plus, and I'll add my actual message here. So I'll say something like, we'll say pinged successfully. Yes. All right, so let's go back to our Niagara station here, our station object. So go up. We've got to get health here. The return type is B ping health. So we go to that guy. And we see we have a get down, which is going to return a true or false based on if the device is online or offline. So down or whatever. All right, so next we'll do an else if. All right, so else if station.getHealth.get down. So this is basically a shorthand of saying, So this one up here is saying if the station is not down, and this one down here is saying if the station is down. So that's basically a shorthand operator. All right, so if the station is down, we're going to say job.log. We're going to send another message, and we'll just do this one. We'll say did not ping successfully. Houston, we have a problem. All right, so now we need to find what happens with our catch statement here. We'll just say it throws a interrupt exception. We'll just say all right, so if we call our thread to sleep and it gets interrupted for whatever reason, it'll throw this exception here. And we'll just do I don't know, we'll print something out of the console. We'll say interrupted while sleeping. So after that, we'll log that we're done. We'll say job.log message, and we'll steal our string up here, but we'll change it up a little bit. We'll say ended task. All right, so let's compile this and go ahead and figure out where our error is. So we got a time unit. We don't know what that is. So go back here. Got our time unit. We see it comes from the Java util concurrent package. So let's add that guy in there. All right, so we should be good. All right, so let's test this guy out. So we'll go into our property sheet here and we'll go over this. So we're going to say basically any Niagara station in this whole station, we're going to try to ping. And if I go to my Niagara network, I've got two stations here. I've got one of them that's offline and one of them that's on. So let's close my palette. We're going to open up our jobs here. And we'll clean this up a little bit, get rid of some of these. All right, so when I execute this program, it's going to start our job. It's going to log it here. And considering I have only two stations in here, it's going to run pretty quickly, but you'll get the gist of it. So let's go to Niagara Network and reset all connections. So none of them are trying to be made here. We can watch out with our client connection up here. Will show the status of what we're trying to connect to. All right, so we'll fire it away. You'll see here it's starting to connect. We've got a job log down here in our jobs console, and it waited about 10 seconds between going to the first one to the second one. And it should be waiting 10 seconds. And it's finished. So we got our job, it's finished. So we can go here and look at the details. All right, so in our job log, you see where we logged the specific thread we're on. And we see that the first station, building A here, it pinged successfully. And I forgot to put in this, so we can go back and fix that real quick. It's good troubleshooting and a lack of detail on my part. So we'll get our station.getName plus. I'm gonna add that here. Pile it again. And we'll go back to here and we'll run it again. So our job shows up again. We're connected. Wait 10 seconds, move on to the next one. And our job is finished. All right, much better. We actually got the name in here correctly. So, yep. So, go back here. We got the thread that's running on. We got the first one pinged successfully. The second one did not. And then we got here saying that the task is ended. All right, in our query, let's say if we just wanted to ping the ones that were down. So we can go back to our property sheet of our program here. We can adjust our query. So let's say all the ones that status dot is down equals to true. And we see we've only got one right now. And let's go back to our Niagara network here. So we see right now we're not connected. Program. Now that's the only one that's trying to go out and get connected. So this is a pretty simple example of how to use a job with a program object. Like I said, it's really useful if you've got a lot of stuff going on where it's going to take a lot of time, because let's say if you're doing some task and it takes 10 seconds per step, or let's say if you're retrieving data from a bunch of JSONs and let's say it takes 5 seconds to retrieve whatever data it is for each one, so you times that by how many, you've got a bunch of devices. So it's good to be able to track what's going on and make notes in your job's messages here. So it's really useful to help troubleshoot problems. And also it doesn't type your system thread when you're doing your program. So when you automatically create a job, it creates it on its own thread. All right, well, that's pretty much it. Hope you found this pretty useful. I know I use it a lot, and I use jobs all the time with different aspects of the stuff I get myself into. Want me to touch on anything else or expand on this video, or if you have any comments or questions, just leave them down below, and we'll see you on the next one.